Hi, friends. Welcome to the second installment of my Advent series. The first installment dealt with peace, and while I'm not necessarily concerned with following a traditional Advent trajectory, this next story could be construed as being one of faith. We are going to be dealing with a man of faith, a man who is the father of many nations, the father of three great religions, a man named Abraham. According to the Bible, Abraham was born 292 years after the Great Flood. That's 9 generations after Noah, which makes Noah his great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, which is great. Sadly, by the time that the generations get to Abraham, Joshua 24:2 tells us that his family has turned away from the Lord, that they are now worshiping other gods. And still, when Abraham is an old man, 75 years old, God speaks to him. He says, "Leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all the peoples on earth will be blessed through you." Why are we talking about Abraham in a Christmas-themed series? Because the lineage, the hope, and the promise of Jesus can all be traced back to this moment. Those of you who talk to me on a regular basis about God know that God does not make slaves. Abraham does not have to go once God says go. God's letting him know, I have chosen you. And so Abraham then chooses God right back. He chooses to follow him. He chooses to believe him. And that's what seals the promise. We see throughout Abraham's story that he is no squeaky clean character. He's not chosen because he always does the right thing. He's simply chosen, and then he chooses to follow. And that's how faith works for all of us. God gives us a choice, and we either believe him or we don't. But when we do believe him and we act on that, God always follows through. The songs on this album that I just released, I just came out with a 5-song EP called Nativity, and all 5 feature songs somehow connected to the Christmas story. But they all also feature very complicated conversations between the people and the stories. None can be more difficult than this one. The song that touches on this conversation, the song is called Abraham and Isaac, is not a song that I wrote. It was written by my good friend Abel Baker. The first verse in that song, in the song Abraham and Isaac, it just crushes me.
Abraham went to Isaac, said, "My son, pack your things. We must go to the mountain, bring our Lord an offering."
God tells Abraham that he needs him to go sacrifice Isaac on a mountain, burn him in fire. How does Abraham even start this conversation with Isaac? What must be going through Abraham's head? Back when they were getting circumcised, Abraham had begged God. This is before Isaac is even conceived. He begged God to let the promise pass through Ishmael. It'll just be easier. God, he's already here. Is Abraham wondering if God has maybe changed his mind about that? Is he wondering if Isaac did something to anger the Lord? Maybe Abraham's going to have another son through Sarah. Maybe they're supposed to name him Isaac too. Does Abraham even wonder any of this? Maybe he just simply does what God says and doesn't think anything of it. I'm certain it was a shocking request to Abraham, but shocking doesn't necessarily mean odd. We know from later biblical writings that the lands that they're in right now did practice child sacrifice. They would burn their children. And it's one of the reasons that God kicked them out of the promised land and replaced them with Israel, was he detested this practice. But whether or not Abraham is already acclimated to this type of worship or not, he somehow gets Isaac up on the mountain. And as he prepares to make the sacrifice, God stops him. The wording in the Bible tells us that God says, "Now I know that you fear the Lord, because you did not withhold your son." I can't help but wonder if God didn't need that proof. He's already chosen Abraham because of what he sees in him. Abraham has already proven time and time again that he will choose, believe, and follow the Lord. I can't help but wonder if the ones who didn't need proof of Abraham's faith weren't the two people up on the mountain, Abraham and Isaac. They were the two that were likely horrified by these events. They were the two that probably wept with relief when God stopped Abraham's hand. Those are the two who are going to tell this story for the rest of their lives, and they did. They did so much that thousands of years later, we're still telling the story. Do you feel like God is testing you? I don't believe that he puts us through trials to find out what we'll do. He already knows. I think he puts us through trials to prove to us what we're capable of when we walk with him. I think that when we see what we're capable of, that it makes us braver to trust him for bigger and bigger things. Put your faith in him and know that he wants good things for you. Thank you for listening. If you found this beneficial, please subscribe. If you would like to hear more about Abraham, Pastor Myron at Journey Church Tacoma did a great segment on him during our Advent series back in 2020. You can see it by clicking on the link below.